County. And the reason I say that's the only response I have as an emergency manager is because I can't come out here no matter what police powers we have and get a new well drilled in less than a week. I can't even get a new well drilled in less than 6 months. Remember, I told you at the beginning how long the well drillers list can get during an event like this. I can't even guarantee you I can get a new well drilled in 18 months. So I have to come up with stopgap measures to try to keep you in your homes. That's really the only route emergency managers have response-wise to a drought where an entire neighborhood is out of water. So I just wanted you guys to get a visual on that. It's nothing any of us want to do. I mean, I like camping like the next person, but only for a couple of days and I'm out, man. I gotta get back to a shower, okay? So just keep that in the back of your mind. The 25% conservation that we're really kind of shooting for is to make things better in the whole area, not even just here in Wild Wings. So Supervisor Sandy mentioned that the board is going to be hearing from me on July 27th. You guys are getting a sneak preview. I was saving a bunch of the drought updates for the board members until the 27th. But when we start looking at the well systems and the dry well reports in this area, we really felt we needed to come out here now even before the 27th. So if you tune into the board meeting on the 27th, they still are accessible via Zoom for a while. You might see some repeats of this data. You'll see even more. I get a little bit more time on that date. I'm also going to be recommending to the board that we do a proclamation of local emergency. Yolo County is already in the governor's proclamation. But in order for us to issue even mandatory orders, or in order for us to waive some of our purchasing procedures, for us to be able to respond if we have to, I have to have that proclamation of local emergency. I have to have it to ask the Governor's Office of Emergency Services to help Yolo County. So that's why, as an emergency manager, I'll be asking all 5 board members to consider that local proclamation of emergency. It just gives us a little bit of extra power so we can respond a little bit easier. But we still need you guys to shoot toward that 25% conservation. Now, some things I know that people are worried about. Well, what about my property values? Your property values are going to be better with a California ecologically friendly front or backyard with native plants than it would be without water altogether, okay? So there are ways that you can do this. I live in Woodland, just down the street. You know, there's incentives in Woodland for us to take out our yards and things like that. There are programs from the State Department of Drinking Water that you can sign up for if you feel like you don't have enough money to maybe take out a lawn. Nobody can fine you for letting your lawn die during a drought. That's actually a legal thing. Nobody can come to your house and go, give me 10 grand, you let your lawn die, okay? So I want you guys to have the courage to do whatever needs to be done in order to meet some of these conservation measures and actually be around for the long haul. So if we can avoid this, okay, we squeak past this one, but we're still worried about this coming season. So I've survived 7 major wildfires and 2 major floods in this county, along with the previous drought and 2 pandemics. I'm sure we can get past this. But we all, like I keep saying, like a bad record, we have to work together on it and make some permanent changes so we don't see it come back around next year. Let's say we don't get any rain this fall. I mean, my staff are all ready to get our mud boots out and go hike along levees and watch for things called boils and sloughs and slips and make sure people don't get flooded. But if we don't get that rain, this problem gets worse next year. And so it's definitely something that I'm going to encourage everybody to hit as hard as they can out of the gate this year to buy us more time. We won't see the National Weather Service predictive models in my office, the ones that we really rely on for the winter, until September and October, the end of September, beginning of October. And I can't even tell you how many times when I get those every year from NWS, it says, well, there's a 33% chance it's going to be a wet year. There's a 33% chance it's going to be a dry year. And there's a 33% chance it's going to be a normal year. You know, we all love the weather people, right? And you just sit there and go, come on, just tell me if it's going to be wet or dry. And they can't sometimes because they're going off of historical averages, you know, the patterns they're seeing, all that good stuff. So whatever they tell us might come true and it might not. And that's what we have to prepare ourselves for. So I told you and I promised you I wanted to leave enough time for questions. We do only have the 1 mic, so I'm going to try to listen as carefully as possible and repeat your question. And if it's something I'm not going to answer, hopefully I've brought the right subject matter expert with me to answer it. And I saw a hand right out of the gate. Yes. That's some of those farming practices that I was talking about. So different crops use different amounts of water. Yolo County can't live without its ag. We are a heavy ag community. And honestly, us as individuals can't live without the food that California grows. Now, some of our farmers have already fallowed. One of our water delivery systems is indicated early on that 10,000 acres were fallowed. That means that a farmer chose not to grow there. Usually chose because they didn't have water this year or water delivery. So it is a contributing factor. It's not the only factor. Oh, somebody told me you guys would ask about mining today. Okay, so what I have learned about mining around you guys is that mining hasn't been done north of you since 2017. The new mining that's proposed is not there yet, and even the mining that was done in 2017 actually sent rock on the conveyor belts 3 miles to the east, so it wasn't using water here. So obviously everything can be a contributing factor. I'm going to say that that one is not contributing to this right now, though, because it's not even in effect. Great question, though. I think I saw, yes, you're talking specifically about is the water available to be used that's in the old mining pit, yes?
Right.
Okay. I'm going to have to look that one up. My knee-jerk reaction is I wouldn't want to drink it, for sure, but I can get an answer, and we're taking these questions down so we can filter them back out to you. Yeah. How many of the new homes being built are going without landscaping? I'm going to go ahead and give you a knee-jerk reaction of I can't tell any homeowner what to build their home with, but I can stand in front of them the same way I'm standing in front of you and saying, I would prefer you don't put that lawn in. I can't really make you do anything at this moment. All I can do is appeal to your good nature and the fact that, you know, that's probably not a good idea to put that big of a lawn in, even though it's a brand new home, right in the middle of a drought, when there's a lot of other ways you can do water-friendly landscaping on your property. So, Kim, the question is, what do they need to worry about in the arsenic levels in the canvasback well when they switch over from Pintel?
So one of the really good things is the latest tests of arsenic have been below the state level coming from canvasback. They've been, so the state level is a 10, and we're running right now about a 9.2. So while the arsenic is there, it's not at the state, you know, but because we have a state permit that says that we can't operate it, we do have to inform residents. So the question was, should we not drink the water or give it to our pets? I'm going to let Lachi, because she's the water engineer.
Hello. So the water is fine for drinking and for giving to your pets at that level. So it's very similar to the water that we've been having at Pintel that we've been drinking all along. So last fall, the level started going up at the Pintel well, and that's our drinking water well now. And the level got to 9.6, so almost to the level. So this is actually less than that, 9.2. And since that time, arsenic has dropped down at Pintel. We're back in the 8s. But between 8 and 9, we're all about the same. So it's okay for drinking and okay for your pets. Yes, parts per billion. Yeah, very, very small. Oh, Pintel well is going offline on Monday, the 26th. At least 5 days. We are hoping to be done in 5 days, but once they pull the pump out and we see the condition of everything else that's in the well, there may be a delay if we need to get any additional parts, or if things don't go smoothly going back in. But right now, they've got everything, the rig is set up to start pulling the pump. First thing, Monday morning, he'll pull pipe for a day and a half. And then he's going to turn right around on the second day and start putting the pump back in. But he's got to run 500 feet of pipe back down the well. And that'll take a day and a half. So it's 3 days to get the pump out and back in, assuming all the parts that we're putting back in, they're the same parts, so that they're all in good shape. We have some spares on hand, and we do have some new column pipe, and we do have new shafting, and we have a new pump. So that's all being assembled and ready to go. The pump will be set about 500 feet. Yeah, so it's 120 feet more than it is now. And we're not going to the bottom of the well right now, because the well is at 1,000 feet, and we'll be at 500. And we would like to be at the bottom of the well, but To go to the bottom, we need a different motor, a bigger motor. If we have 100 horsepower, we need a bigger motor. We need a bigger shaft, because as the shaft gets longer and it's rotating, you get more wiggle in it and you can deform the shaft. Our shaft's not wide enough in diameter. You need a bigger pump to get it from 500 more feet down to get it up. So we would have to change the entire system to be able to go down to the bottom of the well. So that plan is in the works, but it wasn't something we could pull together to get the parts this summer. So because there's been shortages and everybody's trying to get wells and piping and motors, the turnaround time was more than the time we had for the water levels that we've got. So the question is there a plan to increase supply, so water supply? So there's a couple ways of looking at it. One is we can decrease demand, which is partly the conservation part. And for instance, we use 2 to 5 million gallons a month, our wild wings, in the winter. In the summer, that number starts climbing, 7 million, 8 million, 10 million, up to 12 million in August. The difference between the 12 million and the 5 million is mostly irrigation. It's our lawns, it's pools, so if we were cutting that number back, we wouldn't need as much water. So if we were able to, remove part of our lawns, and then the lawns that we have left, we can actually water and they'd be green and be beautiful, that would be a big help. So the other end of that is getting more water, which would be essentially either drilling another well or connecting to somebody else like the City of Woodland, which may or may not, be a possibility. I mean, theoretically it's a possibility. I don't know about the feasibility of it. So Max is just saying that we can extend our water supply by getting water from the canal, from Moore Canal behind us. And that is also being looked at. Forgot to mention that, thank you. So what we're looking at doing right now is putting in a turnout, essentially, a place where we can pull water out of the canal when there is water there and run it to the golf course to irrigate the golf course with, instead of using the groundwater. So any year that there is water in the canal, we would be able to use it that way, and we could also bank it, because we have the big pond at the wastewater treatment plant that we could store up to 9 million gallons of water that we could use later in the summer. So that plan is moving forward. We're getting cost estimates right now, and the hope is to go forward with that depending on the CSA voting on that, and get that installed this winter so that come next summer we're prepared to pull water from Moore Canal.
So my understanding of the program, since it is being administered by the City of Woodland, is it doesn't extend out this far, but there are many grant programs and things up at the state level from the Department of Drinking Water and Department of Water Resources now that water systems can apply for to actually kind of serve up the same type of program. And if you've seen the news and stuff, I think up in Auburn they call it Cash for Grass and things like that, they inherently all give you some kind of incentive to plant native California plants, things that do well in drought conditions and things. So my understanding is nothing like that exists yet, but it is something that's on the table that we definitely could go for. And there are instant hot devices that you can put, say, like under a bathroom sink on a second floor or something like that, so that the water goes through that and it's almost hot right out of the tap, because I definitely understand that even on my single-story home, because of the copper it has to go through, it takes a minute, and every time you turn on the water, you're wasting water for it, waiting for it to get hot. So there are possibilities like that. You definitely are going to need to talk to a plumber or general contractor to see if it can be plumbed into your independent home. It really depends on the plumbing of your house. Yeah, so the gentleman in the back knows a lot about heat recirculating pumps. Sounds like maybe you might have one at your house. Yep. So conservation devices kind of are all over. There's low flow toilet things. If you don't have a low flow, things to turn them into low flow. There's screens to put on your faucets to make shower heads low flow, all kinds of things. The gentleman in the back just shared with you guys that kind of different type of Insta-Hot, if you will, technology that you could look into. But again, a lot of that has to be installed, so you got to actually consult with a professional. Gentleman in the striped shirt. So So I'm going to look to my other subject matter experts here if there's already anything about the golf course on the docket. The gentleman's question is, why don't we stop irrigating the golf course? So water conservation on behalf of the golf course. Keep the greens green, maybe cut down elsewhere. Okay, so our friend Max Stevenson from Yolo County Flood Control Water Conservation Districts is going to tell you a little bit about groundwater recharge.
Yeah, of course the question was about basically landscape irrigation, but not in front of homes for the golf course. That is part of the equation, right? As Dana was saying, everybody needs water. The farms need water. The golf course needs water. Your houses need water. Everyone's pumping. Cache Creek is a source of water, but right now, I'm not sure everyone knows this. So I work for Yolo County Flood Control and Water Conservation District. Our name is long, but our mission is strong. And we sell water to farmers. And so when waters buy surface water from the Coast Range, from Clear Lake and Indian Valley, they're not pumping groundwater, right? That's good for everyone. It preserves the groundwater. Well, a couple weeks ago, we ran out. So we, as you probably saw back in the Moore Canal there, behind Wild Wings, there is no water left. And so now everyone's turning on their pumps a lot harder, and water levels are dropping faster. We're looking at a situation a little bit worse than 2015. And then something funny is happening here, the Plainfield Ridge story. We just happen to be on top of an underground mountain range where, that's right, near the last page, third to the last. It's kind of the old-fashioned looking map. But the idea is that you can sink a well to the east, to the west. You're going through 1,000 feet of sand and gravel and alluvium. You sink a well here, you might go into a rock as big as the Empire State Building, or that doesn't have much water in it. And it's like a layer cake underground. Sometimes it's all cake, sometimes there's lots of layers of icing, and that's where we are here. There's the confined aquifers are in these different layers, so different things happen. But the water that's in Cache Creek right now, that's groundwater. If you go out into the creek with the fish, the water that's being pumped out, and you start walking upstream, it's dry gravel for 8-9 miles up past Esparto, right? That's groundwater, and that's good. That means that there is groundwater here, it's available, but just where your wells happen to be into that layer cake, it's not behaving the same. So another idea is to drill maybe a shallower well instead of a deeper well and take advantage of this upper aquifer. These are long-term ideas that we're talking about here. Using canal water, changing how you manage the landscape, but right now it's kind of it's an emergency situation. Office of Emergency Services is here, and luckily the people that planned and designed your development put a 1,000-foot well in. That's great. So there's space. It's more of a procurement of equipment and timing, but it's very serious. And but to address the question about recharge, so the flood control district, we've been working in the past 5 years with the state to get permits of when it's raining really hard, when it's flooding, and when there's extra water in the creek in the winter. We divert water into the canal system, and that soaks into the ground. We can get many, many millions of gallons of extra water stored in the underground reservoir by doing that. And the state's been working with us, and just needs to rain more.
So out of all the SMEs here, ARP funding submissions that may have been submitted on behalf of Wild Wings, just a synopsis of anything. And how good are their chances of getting them? I don't think we can answer the latter question.
So I did submit on behalf of Wild Wings 3 different projects. One of them is a third well, one of them is the completion of the arsenic project, and one of them is a redundant wastewater treatment plant. The ARP, there's one more meeting remaining, and it is tomorrow night via Zoom. You can go to the website if you'd like to participate. To strengthen your chances is to participate in those meetings. So I would definitely check out the website. And
thank you, Georgia, for being there. We really appreciate it. So the county receives $42.8 billion as its share of the American Recovery Act funds. We had over, as Georgia said, $300 million in total requests. 17 of those were water-related requests that totaled $90 million. So as you can see, the influx of proposals that are in already dwarf what we're receiving. and we haven't taken an analytical look at them yet, but we're going to have to go through those with a fine-tooth comb. So I would say it's going to be a challenge to secure funding out of that fund, given the level of competition, etc. We'll try, we'll take a look at it, but there was a lot of people who would have dipped their toe, if you will, into that bathtub. So that's where we are.
Okay, more of a comment from the front here about seeing common areas being watered, and how do we go about conserving water on those common areas as much as the homeowners are. Did you have something about that?
So the HOA Landscape Committee has been working on trying to fix those. We are aware. We've been, trying to work together to address those. Regarding the people that have it overspraying, and I have seen it, it's going to come down to, I'm going to work on outreach to work with the heavy water residents to just see if they know how to operate their sprinklers, or if they even know that they're watering, because they may just set it and go on vacation or something and not realize. So I'm going to work on definitely outreach to work with them.
It's not so much that I see the homes, but it's going
It's
up
this. I know, I've driven it and I was like, oh my god, it feels like it's raining. Like, sorry guys.
Along those same conservation lines. Oh, hand I didn't see. Yes, question of if the pipe is going to stay there permanently that's currently pumping water out of the creek for the landscape. I'm looking to Kim as soon as she's got a second, but I'm pretty sure that that's a temporary thing, but don't quote me on that. Kim, is the pipe going to stay that's pumping out of the creek to water the golf course? Shaking her head no.
No, so right now it is on a 3-month lease. We have it as long as we have water flowing through it. As soon as that creek in the back dries up or rain comes, we will be removing it, but it's a rental. It's not going to stay forever. We are going to look at possibly purchasing piping for future years, so we could possibly pump from the Cache Creek in the future to leave the water in the wells, but this particular pipe is rental. That will have to be decided based on cost of what that would be, and action by the CSA Advisory Committee as well as the board.
Yes, yes. Question, can we convert over to hardscapes and other drought tolerant items on our property?
Yes, at the August 4th CSA meeting, the CSA Advisory Committee is going to be presented with a few options similar to what City of Woodland offers. So if you are interested in that, please participate in the CSA meeting on the 4th. It's via Zoom. Yeah, so the commenter in the front said that she just today received a packet in the mail of artificial turf options. So watch your mail.
Okay, the question was, is the Homeowners Association going to be a little bit more lenient? We're looking to see who the best person to answer is.
So the answer is yes. We are working on some rules changes, and that's the packet that I think you were talking about different opportunities that are out there. The Landscape Committee has been really instrumental in that, and we agree that there's definitely some problems that we need to address, conservation, and so we're definitely going to be more lenient in that endeavor.
Great news, thank you for that. Gentleman in the Harley Davidson shirt said any more than 4 minutes and you're wasting your water. Actually, a lot of other jurisdictions up near Auburn and stuff are limiting the amount that you water each zone to 15 minutes or less. And they're doing that, and you can actually get a penalty in those cities and things for doing anything more. So that kind of statement does trend with what we're seeing throughout the state. Okay, I think this might be a key question. The question was, are we planning on filing a waiver, I'm assuming the State Department of Drinking Water, for the arsenic levels in the Pintail well? I know that we did already say that they're 8, and they fluctuate, but I will look to the water engineer on that one.
So you're asking, Rick, about the Pintail well or the canvasback well? Okay, so we don't have a problem at the moment with Pintail. We have talked to the regional board about the fact that the levels were rising, And what they said was because we were looking at the canvasback well, they wanted it piggybacked on there so that both wells could be treated from one station. So that has been the direction they were going, which was to have enough capacity in the canvasback arsenic treatment to be able to treat both wells if needed. Okay, so yes, so Rick, it's the other way around. Canvasback has the arsenic.
Yes.
Pentel is the better well. Right now they're both fine, and so I don't know if we could get a waiver granted for something we haven't, actually isn't happening at the moment. But we could certainly look into it and see if they're wanting to grant a waiver in advance of needing one.
Yeah, I found out from landscaping people, like if we're allowed, 12 minutes, for watering each station, is what you really want to do is cut that in half and then repeat the cycle. So what happens with the first pass on program A on your watering system, set it all up for 6 minutes, and then 30 minutes after that completes, set program B to start and do the other 6 minutes, and your ground will absorb more of the water. So if you don't know about that, I recommend you do that. You'll make the most of our 12 minutes of watering.
Great suggestion over from the left-hand side, stage left over here. Yes, I'm seeing, pointing over here, yes. Gentleman says 6 minutes would depend, twice would depend on the soil types. Some of the soil types here are sandy, some are clay. Tends to be true of the majority of Yolo County. We have some areas that are great for farming and some that are not so great for farming. So all different classes of soil. Yes, ma'am. So the question was, is the level in the well getting to the emergency level where we might be out of water? So the wells from the reports that have been given to my office have fluctuated. So sometimes when I see them, it's a lower number for days to be out of water, and then the next day they jump back up. Maybe some people didn't water as much. They do recharge. That's why it's really a moving target, and I can't answer that question. So some of the evaporation number quotes that I've seen from various subject matter experts are things like 10% of water evaporates as it maybe moves through a canal system, sits there. I can tell you that it's better if somebody's building a new pool that they have that first fill up trucked in and they do not use the water from wildlings. It's some pool people that put in pools will include that in their quote, and a water truck comes out and fills that thing up for the first time instead of using a ton of water to fill it up. Yeah. Okay. So comment on the right was basically that she learned from her neighbors that they're very conservative, but also has seen readings about different percentages that evaporate. And again, I do not have a hardcore answer for you on that. Yeah, it really depends. The gentleman in the back is asking if we're looking from a county level at all wells, maybe where they're placed, how much they're pumping, things of that nature to conserve groundwater more holistically instead of just kind of hammering on the wildlings population. Max, take it away.
So that's a great question. Everybody uses water, so thinking that someone else is taking the water that you were going to use, well, they think the same thing, right, about you. But we have thanks for laughing. So YOLOgroundwater.org, that's the website of the Yolo Subbasin Groundwater Agency. It's newly formed. It's to address these exact questions. You can participate in the public process that talks about how things get, the main issue right now is if someone has a shallow well and they've had it there for 50 years or 80 years, and then someone puts a deeper well right next to it in a new farming development or development like this, and they draw the water levels down, is that fair? Well, yeah, we need to work on that as a community, and so we do have a governance and a process for that. The county is one of the members. There's 25 different, there's more than 40 water agencies in Yolo County, amazingly. 25 of those water suppliers are members in the YSGA, and we've got a $1 million grant from the state to work and plan on this. COVID threw a big monkey wrench into the public process, so things that we kept delaying, hoping that things would get better quicker. We've got a couple chapters done in the plan that you can review at your leisure. They're only a few hundred pages. But you can also just attend these meetings. You can get put on email lists. You can give your input on what you think should be done, and we can try to work on this problem together. YOLOgroundwater.org.
Yeah, historically groundwater has not been something that there's like rules on like there is surface water. Water rights don't exist in groundwater world, and that's why some of these agencies have been formed now to look at that, because it came up that those things happen. So we have to start looking at that holistically. Okay, the gentleman in the back says there's a farmer out to the west here, has a 1,000-foot deep well pistachio farm. So you can always bring that to the planning table. Bank owns the property. Okay. We're writing that one down. I don't know what we can do about that one, but it's participate in the groundwater management agency. We'll look up that parcel number for sure, though. Oh gosh, I don't have a hard and fast answer for that because. Oh, sorry. How much of the water rights are grandfathered in this county? There's senior water rights, junior water rights, all kinds of different. It goes back to the Civil Defense era, 1950s, when they were first established. I don't have a hardcore percentage of how many in this county are grandfathered in, but I can tell you the Water Resources Association's been hearing from water purveyors, water distributors, and we have heard from a number of them that their surface water allocations were cut this year, even if they had water rights. Of cuts. Of supply. So best case was 25% of supply that they were allowed to take. Worst case was 0% this year. Kind of depends on which agency, how mature their water rights are. Yeah, and all that stuff as to how much they got. It's a very age-old system. Two different systems, actually. So surface water is the thing that has rights. Groundwater doesn't have that. So that's kind of what we're talking about with who's putting a well where. There isn't really a system for groundwater management like there is for surface water management. Those rights we're talking about are surface water rights. It affects it, yes. There's just no, hey, well owner, I'm going to come and cut how much you're going to take out of your well this year to 25%. It's not something that we can actually do at the moment. So the question is, there sufficient water in Canvasback when Pintail goes offline for 5 days to sustain the 5 days of repairs while the Pintail well is being worked on? And she's walking this way.
We hope so. Yeah. So it depends on how much water we use during this time frame. So we might be totally fine, but we've got 49 feet of water left in the well. We're dropping a foot or two a day, but we're dropping more than that when we're running the pumps. We won't really know till Monday how things are going to go. Once we turn the pumps on and they have to pump, well, what they're doing is they're turning on 4 to 5 times a day to keep the community in water. So each time we have to turn the pump back on, it's not coming back up again. So if we have our water here and we turn on the pump, it draws it down in the well. And we turn off the pump, it comes back up again. So up till now it's been coming back up where it was, pretty much. But now, every time we turn on the pump, it's not coming back up. We've lost another couple feet. If we have to turn on the pump 5 times a day, and each time it doesn't come up by a couple of feet, we're going through a lot of feet of water at one time. So the more we save water, especially this coming week, the less times we have to turn on the pump, the safer we're going to be. Okay, so the question was, what should the community be doing to be proactive, essentially, in making sure we get through the 5 days? Should we stop watering our lawns or doing other things? Rob?
So I can't really answer that question with any degree of certainty here because we haven't had an official meeting. Having said that, like you said, there are no fines. You know, you can't be fined for not watering your lawn when you're trying to conserve water. And we're certainly not going to be sending people out, giving tickets or anything like that. So do what you feel is appropriate. You know, we're all in this together.
One more time, what are the dates? These are the 5 days.
So, like she said, the 26th through the 31st. The 26th through the 31st. So, you do what you feel is appropriate. We're not going to say to do it or not do it. You know, we're all in this together.
So next week is your target week to conserve and just prove that we can go this much higher.
So the other thing that's going to happen is we are going to let the community know as much as we can what's happening with the well during this week. So we'll be sending out notices, especially after Monday when we've run the well for a few times to see what actually happens and if we're going to get any recharge or not. We can let you know, hey, the well dropped 10 feet, you got to stop watering your lawn. So we'll be using next door. We can use Rick, if we can use your sign. So the electronic sign at the entrance will have information on that as far as here's where we're at, here's how many more days we got to go, and if we start seeing that we're not going to make it, we'll let you know, and everybody's going to need to, essentially, the big water use is the yards. We have to stop watering those if we get into trouble. Don't know if we're going to be in trouble yet, but if we do, that's what we would need to do, is stop watering and just use the water in the household.
Can I see a show of hands of how many people are here because you got my text or email from the emergency alert system? Perfect. God, I love you guys for signing up. Thank you. Yes, she can absolutely ask my office to send out her update that way as many times as she wants next week so that you guys can get it that way. You do still have a number of neighbors who haven't opted into that system. So if you're out there talking with them, walking your dog or something, see your best friend, ask them, do you have a YOLO alert count? Because we might be sending out updates through YOLO alert. And tell them they can go online, set up a free account, and that will be a great way to do it. I am the system administrator for that account, so I offer it to you. YOLO-alert.org. It is the same system I use to evacuate people. So it's good to have an account anyway.
So the question was, on Saturday or Sunday, are we going to fill the 2 tanks with the maximum amount before we take Pintail down? The answer is, it's already been done. So the guys are on it. They've been going through the hydro tanks. They got the air blankets on. They have guys, the crews out here today working on it. Both tanks are full. Canvas back's been tested and it's ready to go. So we're ready. Train will be arriving Monday morning.
Gentlemen asked what happened to the rest of your neighborhood that did not come tonight. Okay, so I, first of all, thank you from the bottom of my heart for showing up in the heat. We did send flyers to every single household. I launched the emergency alert system in the hopes that we could get lots of people here. But really the way that they're going to know is if you see them and you tell them some semblance of what you learned here tonight. We can send out those alerts. If they got the alert and just decided not to show up today, they'll get the message that she gives me for the alert system, so they may know a little bit that way. But on the 27th, when the board receives a recommendation for emergency proclamation, the wording that's currently in the emergency proclamation is to give, as Supervisor Sandy said, the county administrator the power to respond a little bit quicker. So if it gets to a point where it's life safety critical, we can issue mandatories, even if it's just for the time that this pump is being taken down. We always want to avoid that. As an emergency manager, I don't want to force you to do things you don't want to do. I would much rather ask you to comply voluntarily with it, so we could really use your help when you see your neighbors and everything. I know it's not the best answer, but... Who is the owner of the electronic board? Can we please sign up for an account to www.yolo-alert.org to receive alerts?
Yeah.
Perfect. There's your answer right there. No, that's all we're asking for is to give everybody the URL so they can go make an account. it's a little bit of a process, maybe 5 minutes or less. You gotta give them your address, phone number, all that good stuff. Can we do an informational at Food Truck Day for the people who did not show up today? You may keep all of my signage here. I don't need to take it home. I also do have some little flyers that you can grab on your way out that kind of shows you what California native plant landscaping looks like, has some fun facts on it, so you can grab those on your way out too. Yeah, so typically when we do a proclamation of local emergency out of the Office of Emergency Services, my current events webpage on the county website has information on whatever that local emergency is. If it's a fire, I tell you what's being evacuated, how to recover, flood, same deal. So this information, if they approve that proclamation will go on that website automatically. Also a press release will go out. We can always launch a YOLO alert in the area saying that that's been done. I mean, I do have levels that I go through, kind of, hey, this is happening, all the way to please listen to me now. So subject matter experts are going to hang out so that you can kind of attack any one of us on a one-on-one. No, I'm not saying attack us. Be nice to us, please. These people work really, really hard. But I'm going to go ahead and let Supervisor Sandy close this up here.
Round of applause for Dana. Thank you, Dana. Appreciate it very much. And a round of applause for all of you for turning out. We really appreciate it. As well as our three firemen who sat patiently through this, but we're here to help if needed. Thank you for being here, gentlemen. Again, just as a final reminder, this situation is serious. This situation is dire. We're asking for your cooperation and your help to protect your property and your interests. We would like to do that on a voluntary level. That's the best level possible. We don't want to mandate. You don't want us out here making decisions for you. Please, I encourage you to seize the moment and do what you can to conserve here over the next week in particular, because it's a very serious situation. So thank you for your interest and your investment of time. Anything you need, let us know. If you think a xeriscape landscape xeriscape workshop would be valuable, let us know. If you think a workshop on how to set your automatic water timers would be valuable, let us know. We're here to help and do anything we can. We'd prefer to help you and be your partner instead of dictating to you the outcome. So thank you all for being here, and we're always available for questions, etc. Have a great night.